We're pleased to have the world's #1 golfer here, Scottie Scheffler. Scottie, first time in the interview room, and welcome back to Augusta. Scottie, you've had a tremendous year. 3 tournaments out of the last 6 in the last 2 months. What else do you have for us? And tell us about how has the last 2 months been for you?
Yeah, the last 2 months have been pretty good. Been playing some good golf, so definitely not going to take it for granted. And I'm hoping to keep it rolling this week. My game feels like it's in a pretty good spot, so definitely looking forward to the challenge of playing this golf course this week.
Now, when did you arrive at Augusta this week?
We came in a little earlier than I usually would. I didn't play last week, which I usually play the week before, but I was a little tired after Austin, so we came in on Sunday.
Okay, fine. Okay, questions, please. Edward Rivales? I don't have my right glasses on. Let's see.
Scottie, how has Ted Scott helped you prepare for this week, but also this season? What kind of influence has he been since he's been on your bag?
Yeah, I think he's been doing a pretty good job recently. He works really hard, and I have a lot of respect for that. And he's really good on the golf course as well. We do a good job of kind of managing our way around the course, and he keeps things pretty loose and calm. And we've been doing a good job together.
Rex?
Scottie, what advice have you ever gotten about playing this golf course, and who would it have been from? Like your best piece of advice?
So I've gotten a decent amount of advice, but I've also had some really good experience around this golf course. I think I learned a lot by watching guys play and watching them practice and hit shots. And I've been fortunate. I played the first 2 rounds last year with Phil, and then in 2019 I got paired with Tiger on Sunday, and so I got some pretty good experience just watching them kind of manage their way around the golf course and how they play shots and certain stuff like that. So I've had some really good experience just being able to watch those guys around this place.
There's Tim.
Scottie, it seems like maybe to you it doesn't, which is why I ask. It's like 3 different Masters for you in 3 different years. You had the fall version of it, I think your first time here, and then last year there were limited patrons, and obviously this year full, everything's, quote, back to normal. Does it almost feel like everything is new yet again when you come back here?
A little bit. I think this place changes a little bit every year. November was kind of a much different Masters. The golf course was significantly different than it is in April. And this week so far, the greens have been crazy firm, I guess, preparing for the weather we're having today. But the golf course is in great shape. The practice rounds today were definitely a bit different, or yesterday and today were a lot different than they have been in the past for me with all the patrons out there, which is a lot of fun. But it's definitely a little bit different. But I mean, still a golf tournament, and like I said, I've had some good experience around here, and I'm looking forward to this week.
Daniel?
You said that you don't feel different being #1 in the world, but I'm curious if whether it's having to come in here or guys looking at you at the range, do you feel like people are treating you differently?
Outside of, the guys saying congrats, I wouldn't say too much. My friends are still making fun of me. I still got to do my chores at home, and nothing really changes. It's been really cool to see the guys come up and say congrats and, be genuinely happy for me. I think the environment out here on tour is pretty cool when it comes to that kind of stuff, and, just the guys being supportive and, having my back. And, that's really cool to see because, everyone wants to come out here and win golf tournaments, and we have a lot of class acts out here that are, really gracious in defeat and in victory. And so, it's a pretty cool environment out here.
When you're walking around home, are you getting recognized more?
Not really. I didn't really venture out too much last week, so I don't really know. But I kind of laid low and just got some rest, and then, did my usual practice.
Jimmy?
Scottie, when somebody almost gets a hole-in-one, there's 2 ways to look at it. They can either, be frustrated that they didn't hole it out, or be happy that they hit such a good shot. Using that kind of perspective on your recent success, is this something that you look at and say, given your past success, what took so long? I should play this way, because championship golfers usually have to have a positive mindset. Or is it the other perspective?
I would say I try to approach everything with a positive mindset. And so I wouldn't look at my first couple years out here as a failure. I think I was constantly learning, and I've learned a lot out here in my career. And so having some recent success doesn't place any more expectations on myself for this week. I go in to golf tournaments feeling free because I feel like I've done everything I could to play well. And if I don't play well, that's just how it goes. But I feel like I've done the proper preparation. I've rested enough. I've worked on the things I'm supposed to work on. I feel like my game's in a good spot. And so I'm going to approach this week just like I would any other week. I'm going to try and do my best, execute shots, and stay in the moment and just play golf. And however I play, isn't really up to me. It's just I'm going to approach it the way I approach things and just let the results be the results.
Sam was just in here. He warmed up the seat for you, but he wanted us to ask you how
Sam who?
Sam Burns. He wanted to ask, or us to ask you how your matches have gone this week, and then I wanted to ask what board games have you been playing the last couple of nights and card games, and how has that gone? So I'm not going to talk about the golf because that didn't go as well for me. I destroyed them in board games last night, which was fun. I think, we played Sequence last night, and Sam's trainer probably talks more smack than I do, and he was just all over him last night as my partner, and so we got after him pretty good and had some fun.
Yes.
Yes, Scotty, my kids love Sequence too, so, good job with that. After you won in Austin, you said, I never really got that far in my dreams when asked, reach number one in the world. I mean, what does that mean versus what winning a major would be? I mean, do golfers sit around and think about, I want to be number one, or do they think about, I want a green jacket, I want the clear jug, that kind of stuff?
I think that you prepare yourself to play golf tournaments. I'd never really looked at a world ranking outside of you kind of reach that milestone where you get into the top 50 and then you get automatically into golf tournaments like this. And, you play and practice and prepare to compete against the best guys in the world. And I have the most fun when I'm in contention. And so when I'm at home preparing, I'm preparing to be in contention and play good golf. And so for me, the rankings was never really something I really looked at. I kind of made a slow rise. I made it into the top 50. I think one of the only times I really looked at it was I was playing Riviera maybe my rookie year, and the World Golf Championships was the next week, and I think it was me and Colin Morikawa were right on the cusp of getting in or not getting in. There was a couple other guys around there, maybe Ian Poulter or somebody, but that was really the only time I looked at the rankings and really studied what I needed to do, and I didn't play that good at golf. And so for me, looking at the rankings and focusing on that stuff, it doesn't provide any benefit for me. I look forward to preparing and playing good golf and executing shots and, being in contention. That's what's fun.
Will?
Scotty, kind of taking a step back to your junior game for a moment. I know I was speaking to Matthew Wolf yesterday about there are 9 former participants in the Sage Valley Junior Invitational in this field. Have you had a chance to talk with any of those guys about it? And what's it like to kind of grow on tour along with those guys?
Yeah, I think it's been pretty cool having, all the young guys have success out here and, seeing guys like Sam Burns and Colin Morikawa and Victor and Matt and all these guys have success, I think definitely gave us a bit more confidence, just like Jordan had, when I was in college. When you get to see those guys that you've been playing against and competing with for years come out here and have success, it's kind of a boost for you to be like, yeah, I can do that too. And so, the guys have done a really good job of kind of paving the way for us. And, it's definitely nice to have some friends out here. And, we're having a good time.
Josh?
Does Tiger trying to make another comeback this week and getting so much of the attention affect you in any way? Maybe it allows you to fly under the radar a little bit and not have any extra pressure as the new number one?
Yeah, I would say Tiger takes a lot of, attention away from all of us, which I think is a good thing for us. I mean, he's used to being in the spotlight. Tiger is the needle for professional golf, and, we're all excited and hoping he's going to, be able to play this week. I think he said it was maybe still a little bit of a decision he has to make, but, it seems like he's for sure going to play. So that's exciting for us, and we're glad to see him back. He's done so much for professional golf. The tour looks a lot different than it did in 1996 before he came out, and so we're all very grateful, and we're hopeful to have him back.
Gary?
Scotty, what do you remember about that, being caught in that whirlwind Sunday in 2019 with Tiger, and were there 1 or 2 shots that really stand out that either he hit or maybe you hit?
So in 2019, I was actually playing on the Korn Ferry Tour, so I was able to watch a little bit on TV, and I've gone back and I've watched the coverage of that round, and I've watched the Masters highlights, on Golf Channel a few times as well. And so just watching the way he managed himself around that golf course, maybe not even having his best stuff. He made some mistakes early in the round and didn't play perfect, but, he, as always, hit the right shots at the right time and was able to pull through in that one. It was pretty special to watch.
John?
I've been asked a lot of questions. What are you like? I am asked what you are like, and I try and give as clever an explanation as I can, but I have no idea what you're like other than being a very, very good golfer. Could you describe what you're like when you're not a golfer?
Do you understand the question?
Somewhat. No, I think I know. I mean, it's a good question. You'd probably have to ask my wife. She'd probably give you the best explanation. But I like hanging out. I keep a pretty low profile. Board games are some of my favorite things to do. Last week, my wife and I played a lot, and we're doing it again this week. And I just kind of like hanging out.
Chris?
Hanging out to people back in Britain.
Chris?
Thank you. Scottie, would you say that the Ryder Cup was the first time that you felt that you belonged, to the world's elite golfing group? And did the world number one come sooner than you expected?
I would say that I always believed in myself, and I believed I could perform on this stage. And, my dream, like I said, was always just to play on the PGA Tour. And I felt like if I could make it out here, I would learn how to compete. And so for me, my first few years out here, I've just been learning so much. And then the Ryder Cup was such a great experience. I'm so grateful just to be part of that team. And it's always different feeling what that pressure is like in person. You believe in yourself and you prepare for that moment. And you hope for the best. But then when you're actually in that environment and you're able to perform well and you feel those nerves, when I go home and I practice and prepare, I'm preparing knowing exactly what it feels like to be on kind of the biggest stage in golf, with cameras and whatnot on you. It's a lot different when you're actually preparing, knowing what it feels like for you, because you can hear somebody describe it. And, Tiger can talk about being in the moment, but you don't really know what it feels like for you until you actually do it. And so having that Ryder Cup experience has been great for me, just knowing how to prepare for being in these moments.
You say that the world number one came sooner than you expected?
I'm not really sure. I didn't really, like I said, I don't place too many expectations on myself. I don't really look too far into the future. I'm extremely competitive, and so for me, staying present is usually what's best. If I'm looking towards the future, I'm almost thinking that, it's like, let's say if I wanted to have a career goal of winning 4 majors, it would be like, right now I feel like I'm going to play out here the rest of my life. And so for me, it's like, I'm going to look too far ahead. I'm not going to be preparing as hard as I can. And if I'm staying in the moment, I'm not taking things for granted and, playing the Masters like it's my last, I'm probably going to play a little bit harder than thinking, oh, it's all right, hit a few bad shots here, I can get it next year. For me, it's usually best just to stay in the moment because I don't know how long I'm going to be able to play golf out here.
Daniel?
I have a similar question to the what are you like, but in the age of the PIP, the tour seems to be incentivizing guys to share a lot and grow their brands. Do you feel a responsibility or a desire to grow your brand?
I wouldn't say I feel a desire. I think, letting people in is not necessarily a bad thing. For me, I like to be pretty private. I like to be able to live a normal life. And so when I'm at home, my wife and I live a very normal life. We don't do a whole lot of crazy stuff. I think I do feel a touch of a responsibility if I do have some fans or people that, want to see me have success to let them in. And so I've gotten a little bit more involved in the social media kind of stuff. But for me, that kind of stuff, it just doesn't come naturally. I never really look at social media much. I don't really do too much to grow my brand. I just love being out here and I love competing. And so for me, that's where I get the most joy, is coming out here and just playing golf.
Terry?
Scottie, can you talk about your junior golf and also your college golf career? It seems like both of those are so sophisticated these days. It's almost like the AAA of golf, so to speak, particularly in terms of college golf. How did they prepare you to be a champion?
I was very fortunate to play a lot of great golf courses when I was either a junior or in college. In college especially, we played a really good schedule. We played against the best teams and the best players. And so in college, I learned so much just because I was around so many guys that were so talented. And I think the game has definitely advanced in a sense to where we have more tools at a young age than, the guys did 20 years ago. And, the guys did 20 years ago. And, I think the game has definitely advanced in a sense to where we have more tools at a young age than, the guys did 20 years ago. And, I think the game has definitely advanced in a sense to where we have more tools at a young age than, the guys did 20 years ago. And, I think the game has definitely advanced in a sense to where we have more tools at a young age than, they can be used to your advantage, but they can also be a detriment. So trying my best to stay natural and keep everything, more natural versus looking at tons of numbers on TrackMan and stuff like that. I think that technology can be a good thing for us to use, but you got to know what you like.
Owen?
Hi, Scottie. Just further to the question from my right here about what sort of a guy you are. We actually asked Sam Burns that earlier, and he said, very affectionately, by the way, that he's called you a laid-back, goofy guy. Do you think that's an accurate description, and could you explain what is going on?
I guess so. I like to laugh. We have some fun. I think it's important not to take yourself too seriously. So, maybe a bit goofy. Sam's kind of the same way. We have a good time together. Our wives are good friends. And, trying to describe yourself is pretty difficult. That's probably the hardest question I've gotten. So,
does goofy to you mean laughing at yourself, having fun at your own expense sometimes?
Yeah, for sure. That's why I like joking around about, Sam's been whooping me in our 2 practice rounds. And, we went out today and we were playing, I think, against Xander and Patrick. And I was like, man, this is going to be awesome. I don't have to do anything today. Sam's just going to carry me. This is going to be great. And so I think it's important to be able to laugh at yourself because you're going to have a lot of bad days out here on tour, and golf's going to get really hard. And we lose a lot more than we win. And so being able to not take yourself too seriously is pretty important because, we experience failure pretty much on a weekly basis out here. I think I've won, 3 out of the last 5, and that's
3 out of the last 6.
3 out of the last 6, and it seems like that's about as good as it can get right now, and that's only half the time. Yeah, and that's only half the time winning. So you can't take yourself too seriously.
Dennis?
Yeah, you've been on this great run with Ted Scott in the last few months here. How would you describe his style as a caddy and how it complements your game?
Yeah, Teddy's definitely someone that doesn't take himself too seriously either. I don't know how much time you spend around Ted, but he's a pretty goofy guy, and we have a lot of fun together. He tells a lot of good jokes. He may not everybody may think they're funny, but his dad jokes are pretty good, and we get a good chuckle out of them. And like I said, he keeps things loose. We have a lot of fun together. I respect him a lot as a person, and I respect his work ethic as a caddy. And so for me, it's been a pretty easy relationship so far, just because I respect him so much.
Ed?
You've had 2 good finishes here, maybe not really contending like maybe you want to, but now you got the experience here, not because you're world number 1. Do you think this is your time? Do you think, okay, I've been around here, I know what it's like, know what to expect, that maybe this is your time to contend?
Yeah, I would say I'm approaching this week definitely hopeful that I can contend, but that starts with having a good round on Thursday. And so for me, I'm just trying to prepare, make sure I'm properly rested. Like I said, my game feels like it's in a pretty good spot, but I'm just going to go through my usual preparation and approach the weeks just like I always have.
Will?
Scottie, what kind of challenge does walking this course for 4 days present that maybe you don't see it at the other tour stops?
I think just playing major championship golf, especially around a golf course like this where you have to be so focused for all the holes. You can score well in some spots out here, and if you're playing poorly, you're going to get yourself in trouble really quickly. And so the level of focus, especially around this golf course, is so high, and you have to be on for so long that it's definitely different than approaching a regular PGA Tour event. There's definitely more stress with all the people being around and, with the emphasis that's placed on this tournament because it's the Masters. And so the week is definitely, it's a long week.
I'm sorry, I think I meant more physically, like literally just walking the course, and obviously there's elevation changes here that you guys don't see a lot. I mean, Tiger was asked a lot about sort of the challenge of walking this course. I mean, is this course from that perspective, for a guy who's significantly younger than Tiger, just even different? Do you feel different on a Monday after playing here as you would have playing in Austin?
Maybe a little bit. I think I've worked pretty hard in the gym to try and kind of build up endurance to where I can play a significant amount of weeks and then, handle the walks around this golf course. I think most of the stress that we have is probably more mental than physical. And, maybe that's just because I'm a bit younger, but I'm not really sure. This definitely wouldn't go down as an easy golf course to walk, but, it's tough.
Final question, Lance?
Yes. Do the changes at number 11 and number 15 with the tee box going back on 15 especially, second shot's going to be a little longer. You think that's going to change the philosophy of the golfers in this tournament, strategies?
I would say for sure 15, with it being, is it 20, 30 yards back? I mean, that's a big difference. Before, if, you know, I hit a good drive, maybe I remember having a 5-iron in a couple times, and now if I hit a good drive, it's going to be a 3. And so you're definitely going to have to be a lot less aggressive, but I don't think the whole strategy changes that much for me. You know, number 11 is a little different story. That tee ball is a lot wider now, and now you have kind of a bailout zone. But, you know, I went over there and hit some shots the other day. It's not really a bailout zone. It's pretty tough around those trees. But I think the changes on that hole are actually really fun. I think you get rewarded for a really good drive. And if you hit a poor shot off the tee, you bail out, you still have a shot, and you could hit a great shot and still have a chance for a 3. But you could just as easily hit an okay shot from behind those trees and have it bounce into the water or something like that. And there's a lot more strategy on that hole. And, you know, I think you're going to see some really cool shots, and then you're going to see some poor ones as well.
Well, thank you all very much. And world number 1, thank you very much.
Thanks, Ron. Appreciate it.